You have answers now? Why didn't I hear about those answers before?
I've had answers for years.
Then why didn't we hear about them?
Nobody ever listened.
Who burned those people?
They burned themselves. With a choice made long ago by a conspiracy of men thought they could sleep with the enemy. Only to awaken another enemy.
What the hell does that mean?
It means the future is here. All bets are off.
Agent Scully, makes some sense.
Sir, I wouldn't bet against him.
Hello and welcome to Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Luke and I'm joined by my co-host, my equal billing co-host. Made that sound
equal billing.
I made that sound like superior, so I had to bump it up. Then, like,
I could be main host one.
Main host one. I'll be main host A.
That's very. Yeah, I like it. There's no hierarchy here.
Yeah, it is Daniel Checkley. How are you doing today?
I'm not so bad. How are you?
I'm not too bad either. It feels like it's taken a long time for us to get here.
Life gets in the way.
Oh, yeah.
It just gets in the way. You had a lot of work commitments, didn't you, over the last week or so?
Work commitments, illness commitments.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. Oh, God. It's just, yeah. There's just been a lot going on. It's one of those, though. I feel like everyone's become a bit more, like, understanding lately of, like, yeah, stuff just happens at the moment. Like, nobody expected us to be in a global pandemic 2 years ago. So
it's a good point. And, you know, we still managed to get through that with like, recording the podcast. But also, I think this is a global phenomenon. Are we busier?
It definitely feels like... Do you know what it is, getting older? Because you have...
There's something to do with the pandemic here. Yeah. I don't think we was this busy before the pandemic.
No.
But, like... Was we? I don't know, maybe like because we didn't do anything during the pandemic. I feel like I've got something on every weekend and every weeknight, and it's like I don't remember ever being this busy. Half the time I get home and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to enjoy this 20 minutes I'm going to have on my sofa before I've got to get up again and do something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's a combo of like trying to cram in everything that we've missed, and also I think it does just get a bit harder, doesn't it, when you get older, to try and like align everybody's times up. So I know myself, I'll get very meticulous about, I want to do this. I need to try and like figure out when people are free and stuff like that. But it's just one of those, isn't it? It's one of those things. But anyway, how have you been in this sort of like in between time since our last recording, I guess?
Well, you've had a 30th birthday.
Oh, I have, yeah.
I feel like that's worth talking about.
I am, yeah.
Did you have fun? Was it good?
It was good. It was good, yeah. It was also one of those where it's like, I feel like anybody listening who's over 30 is like, what are you talking about? But you know, when you hit like a milestone, you're like, oh, you know, like you sort of get a bit like pensive and like look back. Yeah,
you don't want that immortality that we watched a couple of episodes ago. At 30, at 30, you've already decided, no, it's too much for me.
No, I'd want the immortality, but it's like, yeah, as long as I don't just go past 30, you know what I mean? Like I say, I'm in my 20s forever. That'd be great,
yeah. So now you don't want it.
No,
a couple of days ago, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. No, it's weird though, isn't it? Like when you sort of make when you get to a new decade or a new decade of your life, I suppose. And you're like, wow, I'm now 30 now in my 30s. It's weird that like you for the last 10 years you're like, oh, I'm in my 20s, I'm in 2020 when you speak to it now it's like, oh, I'm in my 30s now. It's not the change. Yeah, it's not the coolest stage to be in, but I mean everybody gets there, don't they?
I think 30s are the new 20s, you know.
I mean you do hear it a lot, yeah. So we'll see. I'll give you the next 10 years.
I bet 30 is going to be the best years of your life. I bet.
You watch, I'm going to die now, and I'm going to be like, very wrong.
Before this podcast airs. If you die before this podcast airs, I'll put a note in.
It wasn't the best years of his life.
Edit, it wasn't.
Like a record scratch or something. What a way to announce. I did that yesterday, actually. I was talking about going camping. To some of Tasha's friends, and I mentioned that when I've passed my driving, But they thought they thought I just meant when I died, I want them to go camping. It's like, what, in like my honor or something? But I mean, it's one way to celebrate it. I guess not celebrate, but you know what I mean.
Celebrate your life.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Well, I do have some news.
Oh yeah.
Me and Jem have booked to go across the pond to the US of A. Over December.
You're doing this X-Files tour?
Well, this is what I was going to mention. I wanted to mention it on here because I was like, so, I mean, fingers crossed we get to go because obviously we don't know like if something happens or not. We've got to, like, there's so many hoops you've got to jump through now to get onto planes. But yeah, we're heading over there in December and we're going to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and then New York. And so I'm trying to think to myself, is there any X-Files spots that we can go to? Do you know what I mean? Because I know most of it's filmed in Canada, isn't it?
Not if the Covenants are going to
Canada or LA, which is both equally difficult to get to from New York.
Canada is Vancouver's quite far from New York, isn't it? Let's not get mired down into this again.
We do not need geography.
But yeah, I think you can go up to like Toronto from New York, can't you? It's not too far. But again, it's driving.
Yeah, we're not going to be there long enough. Yeah. I think I'm trying to think of it. Has there ever been like, because there's been episodes set in different places, but I don't think they've actually used spots.
The only thing I can think of in New York is the Syndicate's like meeting place, but I can't imagine that's just a walking kind of situation.
It's definitely a set, and it's definitely a set. Yeah, like they'll have an outside of a building. Hey, get in touch. Is there any spots? Yeah. I don't think there is. At least not that we've
Pennsylvania
seen.
Is like Philadelphia. You're going to?
Yeah, we're going to Philly.
Philadelphia.
Atlantic City in New Jersey.
And
New York. The Big Apple.
I can't think of any off the top of my head other than the Syndicate one. But
because
again, fans out there, you'll know.
Because we've definitely had episodes set in New York. But it's obviously like not New York.
They're not.
It's a set.
I think it's one of those where it's just filming in New York is like absolutely hell, so no one does it.
Imagine so, yeah. Same as like London here.
Yeah.
Well, I know, funnily enough, I know the new Batman film is being filmed in Liverpool.
Is it Liverpool? I thought it was like Scotland, wasn't it? But
I think Liverpool. A mix and match.
Yeah.
But like, I know they're doing like, because you've been to Liverpool, they've got like that big city hall, very New York-esque type of building, and I know that was all like set up with like American cop cars outside and stuff like that. But again, I think it's because it's just so much cheaper.
Cheaper, yeah. And I think it's planning permission as well, because I can't even imagine what trying to like block off
close off the streets.
New York, it'd just be a nightmare. But yeah. If you do have any spots to consider, just let us know. Yeah. But anyway, I don't think we've got anything else to talk about. Let's just get straight into One Son.
I mean, this is a big episode. We might as well give ourselves as much time as possible.
Yeah, definitely. So this week we are talking about One Son, which is episode 12 of series 6, the second part of this two-parter. It was directed by Rob Bowman, written by Chris Carter, and the original air date was February the 14th, 1999. So we start with a Mulder voiceover, which basically gives us the entire colonization story, or like the plan of this, like sort of...
Yeah, it's almost like a recap of sorts.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I guess, again, I don't know if they have a recap. There's an interesting note, actually, if somebody sent something into the podcast about how it was presented in the UK, and it was just one episode in the UK, so I don't think they had like a previously on and stuff like that. So it's interesting that we don't get that, obviously, in this, but... Maybe everybody else maybe watched it as one big episode.
Yeah.
Which makes more sense, to be honest. But
I can actually get that here. It was at Gashead Steve who got in touch and said, just checked the Radio Times archive to see if viewers were told Cassandra Spender would be back, because I didn't recognise her either. I was surprised to see Two Fathers and One Son was shown as one single episode called Two Fathers, One Son. So... That is fascinating, the fact that this was all shown in one. So I imagine this little scene with Mulder's voiceover probably wouldn't have aired in the middle, because it feels like it would just carried on into the gun scene, and I'm not sure.
I don't know, because it does seem like... It doesn't seem like a previously on, but it is kind of like... There is some merit to it on its own. But yeah, it definitely is more as a what happened last time. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe America as well had it as one episode, but we'll see. Because sometimes they do that. They have like double billing of stuff.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Have like a break and then
Not so much anymore, but like they used to, especially for finales and stuff like that.
Did it recently? Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They had like 2 episodes a night, and the series went by so quick because there was only like 10 episodes anyway.
Yeah,
it was like done in 5 weeks. But yeah, they had like 2 episodes a night. And they'd have like a really short, you know what American like adverts are like, they're really short, aren't they? Like there's a lot of them, but they're like 2 minutes or less or something like that. There's a 90-second adverts. It's like, whoa, it's but yeah, anyway, less about American advertisers, more about X-Files. I did find it interesting. We've not had like a Mulder voiceover in quite a while as well.
Yeah, I can't remember one for a while.
Yeah, I feel like those are like sort of the staples of X-Files. We got the Mulder voiceovers and Scully's autopsy scenes.
Yeah.
Less so lately, but anyway. And then we go into sort of like the end of last episode where Cassandra is asking Mulder to shoot her. But before they manage to make a decision, the front door gets smashed. And we see this like people in like anti-contamination suits or something
like CDC, isn't it?
Yeah. So they come in, like seal up the door and like basically apprehend all these people. And we also see that Diana Fowley is one of the people in the suits. So they take Scully and Mulder and Cassandra to the CDC facility in Fort Marlene, which I can't remember exactly where, but I think we've had this before, haven't we? Fort Marlene. This is where the alien fetuses.
Well, that would make sense because we do see that later on in the episode. There is far too many forts. In the X-Files for me to remember the names of them. But it would make sense for sure, yeah.
They're all like military bases and stuff like that. They're like Fort something. They're all like, I don't know if they're like old names and stuff like that, but there is a lot, I think if you live in America, like you probably know more about them, but with us, I don't even know where the military bases in the UK are, to be honest.
No.
Not a clue. Anyway, so yeah, they get taken there. Then we get this like awkward scene in the shower. With Mulder and Scully, where they're being like decontaminated.
Yeah, this was a weird one. I don't know about this scene. It was a bit of like obviously like it's really tense, and Mulder and Scully are both showering in like this sort of like communal shower, and there is this like weird look that Mulder gives Scully. I don't know how to feel about it really because like he kind of looks at it. I don't think this is what they was going for starters, because it's not the right moment for it. But he just kind of give her like an up and down look, and she turns around. It's like, is this meant to, if you know what I mean?
I think it's definitely meant to be like, sort of, like continuing that like sexual frustration.
Do you reckon in that situation?
It's definitely meant to. Whether it does is open to debate.
It definitely doesn't, if that's the case. I almost feel like that's not what they was going for, and like he was just acknowledging the fact that like we can see each other. I don't know.
I mean, it is very awkward.
Yeah, if you're ever thrown into a communal shower, just turn your backs. You don't have to look at each other. Just turn your backs.
Ass to ass. That's the way to do it.
Ass to ass is the way to go.
Not literally, but you know, like, that would also be very awkward.
For safety. Physical contact.
No one can sneak up on you that way.
No, exactly. You've got all bases covered.
Yeah. I like to imagine it's like, do you remember that game, Army of Two, where you do those sections where it was like the spin around?
Yes, yeah.
It's like that, but naked. That was a very niche reference to quite an old game. Anyway, we'll move on. So then we see, after this sort of awkward scene, Fowley basically comes in to meet with Mulder and Scully. And they say that this has all been done because Cassandra has a some kind of contagious virus that they're not sure of where it's come from that causes spontaneous burning or something like that.
Yeah.
Which we immediately know is a big old pile of bullshit. And Scully is straight away knows that Diana is
something's off.
Yeah, something's wrong with her. She's not exactly hiding the fact of what she thinks about her as well.
Yeah, so this is interesting because, again, Scully makes a really good point that she's come in without a hazmat suit on. She's come in normal clothes. Yeah. So she knows that it's not as dangerous as she's making it out to be. I'm not sure how much Fowley knows.
Yeah.
Again, we were talking about this, how mysterious that character is. I don't know whether she's purposefully lying or whether she doesn't have all the facts. I'm not sure. What I found more interesting in this scene, though, was the start of an ongoing storyline throughout this episode of Mulder and Scully reversing their dynamic.
Yeah.
Because Mulder is very much, I trust Fowley.
Yeah.
And even in the scene, he's like telling Scully, just back off, you don't know what you're talking about. Fowley's doing this and she's trying to help. And Scully is the paranoid, like the Mulder character, the skeptic, the one that's not the skeptic, sorry, the believer, the one that believes that there's a big conspiracy going on and that Fowley's at the heart of it and this and that. Found this dynamic very interesting and I really enjoyed it. I liked the idea that Scully, because she's got personal stakes in it, because she was taken as well, she had the implants put into her, this is all real for her. And then you sort of go, well, it's exactly the same for Mulder because it's his sister.
Yeah.
So he's got personal stakes in it. So it does become a lot more real and a lot easier to believe. And then let's not forget, Mulder has personal stakes as well because as Scully, and again, I'm jumping around, but as Scully rightly says later on, she does turn around and say, you don't trust anyone apart from trusting Fowley complicitly. Why is that?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. It's I think this makes for a very interesting dynamic throughout the episode.
Yeah. I was going to bring up, because they have a quote, it's with the Lone Gunman, isn't it? That they sort of mention that.
I mean, you asked me to trust no one, and yet you trust her on simple faith.
Because you've given me no reason here to do otherwise.
Well, then I can't help you anymore.
Scully, you're making this personal.
Because it is personal, Mulder. Because without the FBI, personal interest is all that I have. And if you take that away, then there is no reason for me to continue.
What she says in that like perfectly sums it up, that they're both on this like personal crusade now, because they aren't working on the X-Files at all.
Exactly, yeah. There's literally no reason for them to be there apart from if they're personally invested.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see how far they've come, because we've seen Scully go from skeptic to now she's like basically fighting against Mulder, like believing all these lies essentially. So meanwhile, we see that Critic is talking to the rest of the syndicate about Cassandra escaping, and he believes that the rebels want to keep Cassandra alive, because I think the syndicate as a whole basically think that they're trying to kill Cassandra to try and stop this project. But Krychek's the only one who thinks, no, they're trying to keep her alive to expose all this.
Yeah.
They're actually, working with her.
They do a really good job throughout this episode of giving you pretty much all the answers, but still leaving it vague.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like this, at the end, we don't know whether the syndicate wanted to kill and like completely get rid of the whole project, or whether they want to go ahead with it and with this vaccine in mind. There is a lot of like, we could still go both ways with this, which is interesting. But they do give you so many answers.
Yeah, that's the thing. It definitely feels like, we'll probably save all this for the ending, but definitely feels like the end of an era of the show. You know what I mean? But we'll get to more of that when we get to it. So regardless of all this, the syndicate say that they need to give Cassandra back to the colonists now, basically because they figured it out. That something's going on with this hybrid program, and now they're just trying to save themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
Get themselves a get out of jail free card, I guess. Yeah. So back at Fort Marlene, we see Mulder running around in his replacement clothes. I thought he looked like Mr. Bean in that suit.
It was so good. Why did they have a tweed jacket in that box? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Who else has been taken in? Where did that? That's a good mystery. Like, do you know
where did that tweed jacket come from?
Do you know there's like books and comics and stuff that fill in the gaps? I want to know the Tweed Man. How did he get straight into?
There's some fanfic out there of like the Tweed Man. That's what it would be, the Tweed Man.
Tweed
That's
Man.
the title of that
That's
fanfic.
a very Syndicate sounding name.
It
Tweed Man.
is, yeah. Maybe it was a Syndicate member that got taken, a rogue Syndicate member.
I like that canon, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think that's it, settled.
Settled.
Tweed Man was ex-Syndicate. He got done in.
He refused to give up one of his daughters or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's been in there a while then, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Since, like 20
Oh, it's
years.
a vintage. It's vintage.
Yeah. That's why it doesn't fit and it's a bit stiff. But yeah, anyway, so Mulder's running around. He's trying to chase a nurse down, I think, because he wants some better fitting clothes because his shoes are too small and everything.
I love this bit because there's a little bit in here where he shouts to nurse and says that the shoes are too small, and she completely ignores him.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, you don't think anything of it. You're like, oh, well, this is just a facility that they're all against him, and they've been told to ignore him. And it's not that at all. We later find out that she's a faceless one of the rebels.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the reason why she didn't respond. So I was like, that's so clever. Just a little shot like that. I love that.
Yeah, and they've just like, they've hinted as to why, but they've not told you.
Yeah.
Until you find out later. Yeah. I always like that kind of storytelling where it's like there's obvious reasons, but you don't know about them until later on.
And again, it points to this facility being like evil.
Yeah,
because all the nurses are in on it, and actually it might not be.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that this one nurse that he happened to speak to isn't a nurse.
Literally can't talk to him. Yeah. But yeah, while he's chasing after her, he actually runs into a familiar face, Marita Covarrubias.
Yes, this was. I didn't recognise her at first, but that's not a slight on the show. That's because the makeup was so good.
They've definitely done a lot of work to make her look battered, basically, absolutely like changed this experience.
Okay, I need to recap with you. I know the last time we saw her was on that ship. Did she have the purity going into her?
So yeah, they went into it because they were using her to work on the vaccine.
That's what I thought.
There was that scene where they were looking at her while they were testing, like all the Syndicate members.
And it was over, and it went through her eyes, so we knew it was inside.
Yeah.
Okay, so does that mean the vaccine works then?
I guess so, yeah, because she's still alive. Then again, does the black oil definitely kill you? Because it didn't kill Krychek, did it? He went in him, and then he's fine now, so...
Oh, yeah, Krychek was infected as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if the vaccine works, or if they just, like, got out of it.
The vaccine must work, because it controls you, doesn't it? So, maybe only... I don't know. That's the thing, though. If the vaccine works, then why are they hesitating? Why don't they just go ahead with it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, to be honest, I'd completely forgot about Maria because it's been such a long time that we'd seen her. So I thought she was a goner. But then again, in X-Files, they're quite good at if somebody dies, you'll know that they're dead. Definitely.
Yeah. And to be fair, like this is an X-Files informant. It was never gonna go well for her.
yeah.
Like if you're an X-Files informant, you pretty much sign on to the fact that you're gonna have something awful.
You're either going to die or be maimed in some way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of the course, and that's why they don't say anything. But yeah, Maria explains what's happened to her about her being like experimented on to try and find this vaccine, and she also explains that the colonists now, if they find out about Cassandra and her being an actual human hybrid, they'll actually start the colonization process off.
Yeah. This is a huge lordom, basically.
Yeah.
This is her telling you the story of the last 6 seasons.
Yeah.
And again, I thought this scene was great.
Yeah.
I thought the makeup was great. I thought her performance was great.
Yeah, she really plays somebody who's been completely destroyed.
Unhinged.
Well. Yeah.
And that's what makes it so cool, is the fact that we've seen how secretive and how cryptic she can be.
Yeah.
Not here.
No.
Because there's no time for crypticness. There's no time for like thinking about her job. This is her life.
Yeah, she's already had the worst thing happen to her already.
So she's spilling everything she knows, everything at all. This is like Deep Throat or X could have done this. They had the knowledge to just say, but they didn't because they were scared about like being assassinated or people listening. This is a really cool example of an informant who doesn't have anything to lose anymore.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so Mulder just gets all the information, which is like really fun. Like that's a really fun way to do it.
And it's good that it's going to Mulder as well now, because like we've seen what's happening because it's told to other characters and stuff who are usually involved in it and stuff like that. We're actually spreading the information to Mulder now, and especially later on when we get the bigger info dump from what's his name? Craig Gary Bryan.
Yeah, Craig Gary Bryan.
Craig Gary Bryan.
Spender.
That's the one. When we get all this information from him as well, like it's all to Mulder as well. So like Mulder now has got pretty much the full picture. I mean, there's still like wrinkles, especially with like the Rebel stuff.
Yeah.
But he's basically got the idea of what's actually happening there. So, and like when you have a main character doing that, I think it's better for the story because he pushes it on. There's no like, oh, is it like, you know what I mean? Like there's actual like concrete stuff. But then we see Scully. She's gone to try and get some information on Diana Fowley, and she's gone to the Lone Gunman. And this is again, you always know it's a big episode whenever the Lone Gunman.
I love. Do you get excited?
Yeah, whenever you see them.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not just me. Then that's good.
It's excitement for seeing them, but it's excitement as well because you know, this is like a big episode. Like
I think mostly it's for seeing them for me.
Yeah,
I don't think it's all of them. I think it's for Hickey.
Yeah.
I just get excited as soon as I see them. I'm like, this is brilliant. I don't know why. Why do I have such affinity towards them?
I think we're gonna have to watch the Lone Gunman series. Aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I'm almost whether we do it for a podcast for the podcast. I'm not sure. I mean, to be honest, we probably will. Let's be honest. But I'm definitely going to watch it because
I was going to say it's not too long as well. Is it? It's like 13 episodes or something like that.
Yeah,
so
I've got to watch it.
Yeah. But yeah, so Scully's getting some information, and we find out from the Lone Gunman that Fowley has been basically collecting information on alien abductees and whatnot, and she's also been going to Tunisia, which is where we saw that the farm thing was set up, wasn't it? At the end.
I don't know. I can't.
I think it was Tunisia that they moved it to, the bee farm or whatever it was.
Yes, I do remember. Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah.
They don't outright say that she's like involved, but like they place her at a lot of the different locations that make it look very suspicious.
I did like this episode for the fact that they don't overtly say, apart from like the sort of alien fetus thing that we see later on, they don't have too many overt references to older episodes, but they kind of like this. They'll mention Tunisia. You're like, oh, that's from this. They'll mention stuff like, oh, we're in Fort Marlene. And we're like, oh, this is from that. And there's a lot of like,
if you've paid attention,
if you're like a long time fan, there's a lot in here that it's like connecting all the dots up now. And it definitely feels like that's what this episode was for, is to try and like tie up some loose ends before we move on to whatever's happening next. So yeah, they mentioned she's been going to Tunisia, but there's also no records in the FBI that she's been doing this. So all the suspicion again is back on Diana, and Scully's now completely on board with the fact that she's part of this conspiracy. But Mulder again, he's still defending her.
Yeah.
Which really riles Scully up, and yeah, she has this quote which we mentioned earlier about. I think he says that she's been taking it personally, and she's saying that all I've got is personal involvement now, and
and it's frustrating as well because it's not just Scully; it's the Lone Gunman that have done all the research that Mulder usually trusts, and there's 4 people there going, "This is weird, Mulder. Like, have a look at this." And all of a sudden, because he has a personal interest in Fowley, well, he refuses to believe it. It's strange. It's strange. I'd love to know a little bit more about this. I don't think we will get it, to be honest, but because I think we've got all that we will get. But this Fowler-Mulder Mulder relationship, it feels a lot more special than they've given us.
Yeah.
We know that like they had this stint on the X-Files and they became close, and then it sort of they parted ways. And so we're to take from that Mulder has this affection for her and he trusts her, despite all these things.
Yeah.
But we don't really have any indication as to like how close they were and why he trusts her so implicitly. And I don't think we will, but I'd like to see more of that story.
Yeah, that's the thing, because like really we haven't seen. We need like prequel stuff, don't we? Of like because there's definitely something like is going on.
Yeah,
romantically anyway.
That's who he's married to. That's the wedding ring.
Oh God, you've just reignited
That's
the fire.
who he was married to. Actually, I think the findings of a Most Unwanted podcast is that Fowley is Mulder's soulmate.
Wow. I wouldn't say that on the recording. You're going to earn a lot of ire. I made a note later on there. I was like, I imagine people were furious with this scene. But anyway, we'll move on before you entrench that view too much.
Lack of denial. I'll accept that.
But yeah, as you mentioned, Mulder is still trusts Diana for some reason.
Well, ex-wife, innit?
That'd be less reason to trust, surely.
No, it was an amicable.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Maybe.
Why would they split up? Do you reckon?
Mulder's porn addiction.
Yeah, that would probably do it.
Yeah, it's just too much. It's just too much. For
Yeah. His lingerie addiction, as we find out later. So yeah, we see that. Talking of lingerie addiction, that quote is literally up next. Mulder goes to see Diana, but there's another person in the apartment. It's Craig. Gary Bryan.
Craig. What was his name? Sorry.
Craig Gary Bryan.
Craig Gary Bryan. Oh, that.
I love the fact that we just call him Craig.
You know what the best part about this is? There are going to be people out there that start this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, they'll just go, I'm just going to check this out because I'm watching season 7 at the moment. There's this podcast that follows along. And they're going to be listening like, who the bloody hell's Craig?
It's Craig.
About Craig and Craig. I don't know any character. Have I missed something? Is there a character called Craig?
Yeah. We're really going to screw people's perception of the X-Files. Be like, I don't remember a Craig at all.
Listen, that's on them because they need to listen from the beginning.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
This isn't for you. This is for everybody that's followed us throughout.
Yeah. If you're a new fan, leave.
Leave now.
Wow. We wonder why.
So Craig walks in.
So yeah, he meets Craig, and Mulder holds him up at gunpoint, and this is where Craig tells Mulder, "Craig just keeps dick with me." This is where he says that he's been betrayed by his son Jeffrey. Now you're going to know who he is.
Yeah.
And this is again where we get another massive info dump from Cigarette Smoker Craig, and
Craig's so much easier to say.
Craig is easier
than Handsome Man. So this is perfect for me. I think
this is like the Muldad situation all over again, isn't it?
Well, we get to see a picture later of Craig and Muldad.
Yeah, Craig the Muldad, the clash of minds. But yeah, we find out that the syndicate basically they were approached by this alien colonization.
This is in part flashbacks as well.
Yeah.
As he's sort of explaining it to Mulder.
Yeah, so we see some of it in flashback, which is weird because they said last week in the production notes that they didn't want to do a flashback. We kind of see it here, so it's like they must have done some.
And I love seeing Craig with a full head of hair.
yeah, and Muldad pretending he's in his 30s.
Yeah. To be fair, seeing the whole syndicate as a sort of youthful syndicate, it's brilliant. You gotta love it. In their heyday.
Yeah, that was the best of times. The 70s when the aliens came. So yeah, we find out that they kind of had a vote on whether they're going to go with this plan to try and make a hybrid to sort of delay them colonizing because
whilst they developed a vaccine.
Yeah, exactly. And they voted for it. The only person who was against it was actually Muldad.
Yeah. Here's a question I have for you. So, this is a little bit of a side topic. It might be a little bit of a detour. I was watching this, and for the first time in my X-Files run, I really enjoyed this section because for the first time, I thought Craig was a shade of grey.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
And I looked at this, rather than just being the villain and the good guys, I looked at this, and a lot of shows do that now, it doesn't feel new anymore. Anyone who's watched Breaking Bad knows that there is no such thing as white and black. There's, you know what I mean? There's no good and bad, light versus dark.
Yeah.
It's all shades of grey.
Yeah.
X-Files hasn't been like that. But this episode, you can make a legitimate case from this flashback that Craig talks about. He's the good guy.
Yeah, I mean, he sacrificed a lot to try and save
it's
millions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, yes, he put his family and sent his family off to save the world.
Yeah.
And to take that on himself and to take on the burden and to say, right, make these tough decisions of like, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to create a vaccine, we're going to stall for time, we're going to lie to this alien race. It's brave, it's courageous. You can make an argument he is the good guy here for sure.
Yeah, and again, with the same thing, you could also make the argument that he did it all to save himself, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and self-serving.
Yeah.
And he's happy to play with people's lives other than his own.
Yeah.
You could make an argument that he's the villain. But I thought this was great.
Yeah.
So much more depth to the character. And yeah, like, it made me 10 times more interested in him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
as a character.
And the best thing about this is with the ending of the episode is now we get all of this like syndicate sort of like maneuvering distilled into one person,
which was always, again, this is just personal, but was always the weakness of the syndicate storyline for me.
I like the idea that there's this shadowy group.
I think it's a great idea as an idea.
Yeah.
But and how many times we spoke about this, having guys that we don't know the names of perform weird, unseen acts, it's difficult to keep up with.
Yeah.
I don't know whether, like, Good Teeth Man is doing something over there. Do you know what I mean? Because who knows? Like, it's so confusing.
Yeah.
But like you said, now it's all sort of put into Craig. I can follow Craig. I know Craig. Craig's like a friend.
Yeah. We've made him a friend.
We've made him a friend.
Yeah. That's all you have to do. Make a friend. Give him a name.
Give him a name.
There you go.
If only X-File, if only Carter would have realised that, he'd have called him Craig from the beginning.
We'd have had Craig. Who else could have been part of the syndicate? Barry.
We're just going to give names.
Just names, yeah. How more sinister is that? Like, it could be somebody you know. Barry is in the syndicate.
Exactly. That is much more scary than Well Manicured Man.
Yeah. Oh, I was hunted by Barry. Anyway, so he goes on to explain.
Sorry about that complete detour, but like,
no, I know what you mean.
It is an interest. I just thought this was like.
No, I completely
great.
agree. Yeah, again, the best villains are always the ones where you see where they're coming from. You know what I mean? Like, I always think, and this is like a Marvel thing, but like the villain from Black Panther, Killmonger.
Yeah,
you go. I can completely understand why he's been a villain. You know what I mean? Like, he's, all of his motivations make sense. It's the application of the what they do, which is where you differ. But again, this is the same with him. Like, you can disagree with his methods, but what he did save the planet, or at least for the time being delayed the inevitable.
And I like the fact that like he almost pleads this point with Mulder, where Mulder's like, this is wrong. You can't play with people's lives. And he literally says, I saved billions. Yeah. In his head, he's like, it's not just the fact that he's justifying it. It's the fact of he doesn't see any other option.
Yeah.
That was the only card to play, which I think is really fascinating.
And again, as well, you could sort of take it as this is his version of the events as well, like how, because it's all like unreliable narrator stuff as well. So it's like, again, there's that wrinkle of, is he being completely honest, or so there's also that, and
everyone that could tell us differently is now gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so it is interesting.
Yeah. Like I said, it just, when you have this multiple layered like sort of villain, it's a lot more interesting, because I won't even say he's a villain; he's just the antagonist, I suppose. Yeah.
You know what? My one advice to Craig would be: stop slinking around, smoking in shadows.
Yeah,
because that gives off a villain vibe.
Yeah.
If he had, imagine
what would be a better thing to smoke.
He's constantly under the lights, eating a cupcake
or a big pipe, like one of those. Like, if you still wanted tobacco stuff, just like a big like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, and no one thinks you're a villain then.
Yeah,
and then when he comes to Mulder and he says, "Listen, I saved billions of lives because I've sacrificed one." Mulder would be like, well, obviously that's the only choice to make.
Yeah.
He gives himself the villain image. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And anytime you just hang around in shadows, yeah.
Maybe the pipe could have bubbles.
We've really neutered Craig at this point. We've gave him a name. We've made him eat cupcakes in the light. He's less villainous now than ever. But he goes on to explain that they gave them this alien fetus that we saw in the first series. It was the first series,
It was,
yeah.
The
A long time
finale.
ago, yeah. But yeah, so they were given that in exchange for their family members. So they had to give their family members to get the DNA to work on the hybrid and a vaccine at the same time.
But it means that, again, Craig, should I say, made a deal that he could. No harm's come to the family, at least as far as he's concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
There's still a chance for them to see them again. Yeah. It was almost like a hostage trade, if you like.
Basically, yeah. So it's kind of like what is it when they swap political prisoners and stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a deal.
Yeah.
And so in his mind, he's actually not done anything wrong. He's like he says to Mulder, "Well, you can see your sister again.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing this for you. If we fix this, we can see them again.
Can actually, and not have the planet taken over.
And of course, he knows that because
Yeah.
he's seen his wife.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
his ex-wife. I don't know whether they're still married.
Yeah, that maybe it was his. Maybe he's kind of like Mulder. He's also got a porn addiction. And that's what split them up. That's the problem. All the relationship woes in X-Files. But yeah, we find out that the reason why Samantha, Mulder's sister, got taken later and wasn't like taken to this because we see the scene of them get taken to this. Was it like a hangar? Yeah. Was because they did it in time, but apparently Mulder was a bit slow to cooperate, and so she was taken from their house.
Yeah, he was late to join the party, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, and then using this fetus, as we've sort of explained, they've made alien hybrids to try and survive this colonization that they're planning. So he tells Mulder that it'll begin if they all this colonization will happen as soon as they hand over Cassandra. And if they do that, as you mentioned, they'll see his sister again. And he also gives him the address of the hangar where they're going to be meeting the colonists that the syndicate will be later.
Yeah. Which is to save Mulder.
Yeah.
Because his plan now is to hand Cassandra over, allow this colonization to happen, but save himself.
Yeah.
He's going to become a hybrid so he doesn't get taken over, basically.
Yeah. As you said, I really enjoyed this scene as well. Not even just the revelation stuff. We really see the acting chops of what's the guy's name who plays him? William. I can't remember his last name. William.
I can certainly find
Davis, is he? William B. Davis, I think.
Yes, that's it, yeah.
It really shows his acting chops. It's like a complete battle of wills between the two of them.
Yeah.
In this scene, I really enjoyed this, and again, like I said, you just get a lot of information. So it's
it's a good scene when we've spent 10 minutes talking about it.
I was
You know
just
what
looking
I mean?
at the time, then I was like, "Whoa, we spent a lot of time."
Yeah, but like this deserved it.
Yeah,
this scene
100%.
deserved it because it was great.
Yeah. There's not too much after this anyway. So we see Spender, or Jeffrey Spender, not Craig Spender. Let's clarify that right now. We see them go to the syndicate headquarters, but Critic is the only person there. And he says that the syndicate members are going to get these hybrid genes, apart from Craig, who's going to collect Cassandra at this point. We see this scene where I keep meaning to say Craig, and it's like, is this right? Is this like?
It's fine. Everyone knows we're talking
Craig.
about cigarette smoking, man.
Yeah, he goes to see Cassandra in an operating theatre as she's just about to be sort of they're going to what's it called, subdue her. What's it when they give her like a shot? Is it to knock him out? I'm struggling with my words. Yeah, but anyway, they're about to do that. But before he sees her, a cigarette smoking man comes and sees her. Lights up in an operating theatre. I was like, isn't there a lot of oxygen around here? Like, that's surely not okay, is it?
This was the 90s, Luke. You square.
All the doctors smoked while they're operating. But yeah, he goes in and they just basically have a... She just calls him out on being the worst man in the world, basically. Yeah. I can't remember the exact details of the conversation, but yeah, she's not happy to see him, and she lets him know it for well. We see Diana return to her apartment, and Mulder's there, and they have this sort of intimate moment. They kiss while they're talking, which, again, I wrote down, I imagine everyone was furious with this kiss.
Not me, because I really believe there's a kindred spirit between
there's some
these
reconciliation in this marriage.
Yeah, I think they could make good.
Imagine everyone's furious at this conversation. And this is where they realise they need to go to this hangar where they're all going to meet. We see Jeffrey go to the hospital at the Fort Marlene, and he finds that his mother's gone now. She's been there's that horrible scene where she's been injected and to be taken away. But he doesn't find his mom there, but he does find Marita, who basically explains to him about them all going to this airbase and what he needs to do to get there. We see one of the syndicate sort of doctors going to pick up the fetus. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is part of the exchange or whatever they're meant to be doing with that. But as he's doing this, as you mentioned, the nurse from earlier who wouldn't talk basically apprehends him, and we get the good old face rip-off scene as well. Yeah. And this is where we find out she's a rebel, or he. I'm not sure actually. I don't even know. I mean, you don't really know what gender they are at this point. They're faceless.
Yeah, they're faceless. So we've got no.
Yeah. But yeah, so she kills him. And takes his form as they leave, which sort of sets up later for the sort of ambush.
And we assume also takes the fetus.
Yes, yeah. So Mulder contacts Scully after this, and this is where they try and head off the train that's transporting Cassandra, because obviously they're moving, like people running trains.
Important to note that he does mention Spender contacted him. So Spender's already phoning around. Yeah, he's on Mulder's side at this point.
Yeah, he's back on board
because they realise there's a way to stop this.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So they try and head off this train because he's with Diana, isn't it, at the time in the car, and they pull the car in front of the train. We get this sort of action scene where they're just trying to shoot at the train to stop it or slow it down, but to no avail. It just carries on. I did like this as well. We see that Krychek finds this surgeon, realizes the fetus is gone, and he's like, "Shit!"
He figures this out.
He realizes now that the rebels are actually going to win.
He knows that. He knows that whoever's carrying the fetus, isn't who they say they are. Yeah. So whatever he's figured out, which is really clever. He figures out that wherever this plan's going, the rebels know the location.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the rebels know about what's happening here.
Yeah, they're already
whether he knows what exactly is going to happen, he knows that if the rebels want to stop it, they have the information to stop it now.
I did really like these last two scenes as well, because the lines of where everyone stands are just blurring all over the place, because Krychek, as we know, is very fluid with his allegiance.
But it's perfect. It's perfect. He's literally out there. He's well, why would I? Yeah. That's a losing side now. Why am I going to be with them?
Exactly. Yeah. So
it wouldn't surprise me if he's with the rebels at one point.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's great, but also clever.
Yeah.
He figured it out. And he's like, right, well, I'm out of Dodge then. Why? I'm not sticking around here. You can go and save the world. Well, how's that going to help me? We see Spender as well. Then he's on side again now. We see cigarette smoking Creek. He's changing allegiances later on when he sees what's going to happen, and he's gone again. There's just a lot of power structure changes in this sort of last few minutes, really. So we see we're at the airbase now, and we see the syndicate and their families going towards the light. We see Craig and Diana Fowley arrive in a car, and they realise that, well, the syndicate have this red flag moment of why is Krychek not here? Which immediately, if Krychek's not there, something's. It's kind of do you know in Game of Thrones when they're why is Cersei not here? Yeah, and it's something bad's gonna happen. Exactly. Or why are the rats leaving the ship?
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's a red flag right there.
Critic being described as a rat leaving a ship is probably the perfect description of his character.
I reckon if you looked Krychek up in the dictionary, that's what it would say.
Yeah, just a big picture of a rat or something. Which is a disservice to rats, I've got to say. So yeah, we see them all go towards the light, and then we get this big reveal where the surgeon walks through the door.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because do you know what the best part about this is? We realise the same time as the characters.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
everyone's face just kind of drops.
Yeah, we see the panic.
But
and
the best part, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, the best part about this scene is Cigarettes Craig realising and just going into the dad jog.
Yeah, straight back to the car.
Just, we got to get out of here. Just dad jogging away from the whole situation.
No extra speed whatsoever. But he makes it to the car. Him and Diana just are like, we're getting out of here.
Yeah.
Like, they know straight away. They're just close enough to the car to sort of be able to get out of it. But yeah, we see the syndicate just get surrounded by these rebels. And I liked as well that they didn't like sort of show you the scene.
Didn't need to.
Yeah,
Didn't need
they
to.
sort of, you know at this point.
You know it's going to be a massacre.
Yeah, and we see the sort of after effects of that anyway in the next scene. Because yeah, the next day we see Mulder, Scully, Skinner, who's had quite a bigger role in the first episode than this one. He kind of just is, I think he's like ferrying what's it around, and he Spender at one point.
Yeah.
Something like that. And we see Spender as well, and they're all talking to assistant director Kirsch. And basically they're looking through the photos of this, as you said, this massacre that's happened, like all the burnt bodies. And Spender says that Mulder and Scully, if they were on the X-Files, would have prevented this. Yeah. I've done nothing. In fact, I've basically helped this happen by not investigating it. So he resigns. He hands his notice in.
He gets, and again, brave in a very different way.
Yeah.
I love this. He had his moment. This is his moment.
Yeah,
he reinstates the X-Files single-handedly.
Yeah. So he recommends that Mulder and Scully are reassigned back to the X-Files. I did like this as well because like Syndicate's gone now. This like sort of alien colonization might not be happening now because their plan has sort of gone awry. Are they going to be completely unimpeded now in their investigations? Because who's going to stand in their way, really? Before it was a syndicate, wasn't it? Yeah. So maybe they're actually going to make headway. Okay, they're going to close cases.
I mean, yeah, you would assume so. You would assume that. I mean, you've got Craig. I'm assuming we're going to see a lot less of Kirsch now as well.
Yeah.
Like
his role doesn't.
He kind of felt like. I mean, I understood why his character's there, but like, I wouldn't be sad if we didn't see him again.
I
unless he has a bigger role in the future, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I'm kind of saying he kind of played. He's basically played exactly what we thought Skinner would be. So Skinner evolved into this person who was actually willing to help them because initially we thought he was going to stand in their way, and whereas Kirsch has basically been exactly that character. So he's kind of unless he massively evolves, he's kind of served his purpose for the series.
I think so. I think the only people that might throw more roadblocks in the way is maybe the aliens now. Maybe it's more direct.
Yeah. They actually have like some like agents or something like that. Yeah. That's maybe it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's a lot gonna change, I think, from this. And talking of changes, we go to the X-Files office and we see that Spender's packing up his things, ready to leave, and his dad turns up, not getting the warm reception that we would think he would give him. He actually tells him that he starts going on about how he's betrayed him, and long story short, he shoots him. Or we think he shoots him. What do you think? Do you reckon he's actually dead? I don't think he is. But it seemed very definitive. You know, it's one of those where it's like off-screen death.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, especially when you've had this whole episode of like, oh, is he the good guy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, I just don't know.
I'm also unsure because it was... it was left very open-ended, but again, maybe this is their way of writing him off. But anyway, that's the end of the episode. What do you think?
I loved it. Yeah. I've got to say, I loved it. And I'm going to talk about it as a whole, the 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I thought this is one of the strongest 2 episodes I've seen. And also, like, it definitely helps that we get answers. Like, this is a long time, especially in today's day and age. It's a long time for a show to be running without major answers.
Yeah.
We have had snippets, but we've never had anything like this. And I feel like you said, this changes because this is everything we've been leading up to is all happened. It's wild this isn't a season finale.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it does feel weird that this is like smack bang in the middle of the series because it's changed so much. And again, we've watched the next 2 episodes after this, and they don't really address it. And I didn't expect them to because they usually have like breaks in between these, so they don't really address it after this. But a lot has changed. A lot has changed going forward. And again, that's part of the reason why I really similar thoughts. I really love this episode just because it feels like such a massive shift of power in the way. So like, I can't imagine that the X-Files are going to be too impeded now. Like the villains or the people who we thought were the villains are now gone, or in what's its case, Craig's case, he's severely
power diminished.
Yeah, he's severely weakened. Mainly because we've given him a name, but yeah, like what's he gonna do now? Like, he's not got his backing of his group?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this works.
Yeah. I think this is, if it's not the best, it's got to be up there as one of the best, like sort of mythology sort of.
I genuinely think it is up there for me.
Yeah.
Just really enjoyed it. Like, there's not much else you can say apart from like. Just a really good episode.
Yeah.
Luke's production notes.
One Son concludes not only the story that began in the preceding episode, Two Fathers, but also a large portion of the series' mythology, much of which had been centered around the Syndicate. The producers felt that this was necessary as the Syndicate's story arc was becoming a narrative drag on the series, and that many questions from the past 5 seasons were still unanswered. Another impetus was finishing the arc was the belief of series creator and episode co-writer Chris Carter that the series would end by the spring of 2000. That didn't happen. Thus, One Son was written to resolve many of the show's arcs in preparation for a future series finale.
It definitely makes it exciting to see what the new arc is, what the new big storyline is going to be.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because it'll have to go into something completely different now, really. Yeah. I mean, they'll still have like ties over from whatever, like this alien rebel and this...
You've got this civil war going on, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
That they know they're in the middle of.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting that Carter thought they'd be wrapping up in like... Because this is like 99, so he was thinking...
I think we've heard bits and bobs about like him thinking that's going to happen quite a few times.
Yeah, I always think...
The film was meant to be the finale as well, wasn't it?
They kind of like think, oh, I've got an idea to end it here or whatever, because they think... And then it's like way more popular than they're like, oh, I guess I'll do some more. Like, and yeah, it's how far do you go with that? Because again, we keep hearing about the quality like decline. I haven't seen it yet. Again, we still haven't seen it yet. But who knows? Maybe they should have ended it at a certain point, but we'll find out. Carter also sought to rectify small issues that the fans had with the film, explaining that I think if there was any trouble with the movie, it was that we promised so much that we didn't deliver all of it. I think we wanted to deliver a lot and all at once in these 2 episodes. So there you go.
Yeah, job done, I'd say.
Episode co-writer Frank Spotnitz agreed, saying that the X-Files film was promoted with the tagline, "The truth is revealed." He realized that many fans would be unhappy with the revelation. Spotnitz struggled when writing One Son because he believed that episodes that gave answers seemed to be less entertaining for viewers than an episode that presented questions. As Lost fans kind of agree, I guess. He did, however, acknowledge that this episode was necessary to explain the show's mythology. He called the episode the biggest chapter we have time to explore in the 9 years we were on the air.
That's another thing that we need to discuss, though, is the fact of how satisfying the answers are.
Yeah,
it could have so easily been such a letdown.
Yeah, exactly.
After 6 seasons of questions, but I didn't think so at all. I thought this was a really fun and interesting way to answer these questions.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing felt like like it was pulled out of the air, everything.
Yeah, it all felt earned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. While the title of the previous episode, Two Fathers, referred to Bill Mulder and the Smoking Man, this episode was titled One Son to reflect the fact that Mulder was the only remaining son of either of these men after the presumed death of.
I didn't even thought about that.
No, yeah. I until like I read this, I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. It says and the rejection of Alex Critic, which I assume they just meant him like as like an adopted son, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't really see him as the son type.
No.
Bad son to have. Several of the plot elements self-reference other episodes of the series. The Fort Marlene presence is a reference to the first season finale, in which that's Erlenmeyer Flask, in which the alien fetus was first introduced. The term purity control is also referenced in this episode. I don't remember him saying that, but it's got to be there somewhere because purity is the name of the oil. Isn't it?
It was it was on the door. It was on the door and leading into one of the rooms that was being worked on.
Okay, so yeah, they might have like a sample of this like purity or whatever it's called. The reference to MUFON was designed to recall the fourth season story arc involving Scully's cancer. The episode also references and mirrors elements of popular culture. Fowley's apartment was purposely located in the Watergate complex. Don't need to explain more about that. And the scene featuring Mulder and Scully being decontaminated was based on a similar scene in the James Bond film Dr. No. According to Spotnitz, he felt the scene successfully played upon the sexual tension between the two lead characters. That's disputed.
Wow, so it was intended. That is in poor taste, I believe. Like, there is not... Okay.
Do you know what it's like? Do you know Friends? Do you know when what's it? Sorry, spoilers for Friends. Do you know when Monica and Chandler first get together and they pull the thingy up and they're like, "Oh, we've both seen each other naked now. We can't go back."
Yeah.
Maybe it's like that. This is the Friends.
No. That doesn't fly, Luke. It doesn't fly. There is nothing sexy or sexual tensiony about being forced to shower naked and sneaking a glimpse. Like I understand what, especially for that time, I understand where they're coming from. This does not fly, especially not now. This is in poor taste, I think.
I just didn't see this.
But okay, so imagine you and your partner get abducted, get kidnapped from your homes, take your clothes taken off, both forced into a shower, and then you put out a romantic little ooh. That's not romantic.
You gotta see some like light in the darkness.
No. That does not fly with me. Like, if that was the intent, maybe it worked back then. Maybe I do not think that helps at all.
They've been abducted a lot. Maybe it's like a busman's holiday. They're just like, just another Tuesday for us, I guess.
Yeah, but this time your boobs are out. No. I'm not happy with this.
Well,
it doesn't change the episode at all. It's just, in today's day and age, that doesn't fly.
Yeah, it does.
That does, like, it's poor taste to use a situation like that to try and increase sexual tension.
Yeah, like
you know what I mean?
a romantic story. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, yeah, I don't think you'd see that in many programs today.
No. Oh, look at Scully. Look how vulnerable she is.
Also, to be fair, it's based on Dr. No from 1962.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
you know what? If you want a problematic storyline, let's go to James Bond.
Even worse, the most the problematic James Bond of them all, Sean Connery.
He'll show us what to do.
Yeah.
He'll show us how to do romance.
Not a role model. Anyway, we should probably move on. In the episode, Laurie Holden, who played Marita Covarrubias, returns. Spotnitz crafted the sequence in which she confronted Mulder to be a way of taking away her beauty and making her look as horrifying as possible. To accomplish this, she was given terrible-looking contact lenses and her hair was disheveled.
I thought that looked great, that makeup.
Yeah, it definitely did completely change her character and the way she acted as well. I think she has to be given props for, again, how she portrayed it as like this sort of like completely worn down person.
For sure.
So, won't go too much into detail about this because it's, again, about filming location, but there was one bit that was interesting here. The scene taking place in the hangar was filmed in the Marine Corps Air Station Tustin in Tustin, California. The hangar, which was constructed in 1942, was a World War II hangar. It's one of the largest all-wooden hangars in the United States.
Oh, okay.
So a little fact with it, which made that point is only interesting because there's later on where they mention that they wanted that scene where all the alien rebels surrounded them. They wanted them to be burnt to death.
Not in the wooden.
They were like,
hangar.
that was the original plan. Then they got the place and was like, no, we're not doing that there. Again, more woes about the Los Angeles move. I keep I mention this off air. Every time I look at the production notes now, there's always a note about it moving to Los Angeles. But yeah, so in this one, because it was moved, the production costs rose, and the show was forced to cut down on its astonishing production values. However, Spotnitz highlighted the use of the hangar as a way to try and create the cinematic scale and still keep the show affordable.
Okay.
So the effects are cut down because we moved it to California. So, not blaming any people. But, and finally, while Spotnitz was complimentary towards Rob Bowman's directing, he was critical of the scene in which one of the syndicate members morphs into the alien rebel. He felt that the effort was subpar, largely because it was created on such short notice. He explained it was one of those cases where you just run out of time, sorry to say. He later expressed a desire to one day go back and revisit the effect.
I thought I didn't.
It
think
didn't
was a
bother
problem.
me.
No.
I've seen much worse in the X-Files. So.
For sure.
Yeah, that didn't really bother me.
It stinks.
Welcome to the Critic Files.
What would you rate this episode?
As a 2, I'm going to give this an... do we do out of 10 or 5?
Out of 10. Sorry, there was a cat just on there. It's like climbing into your garden.
Yeah, it's Tibbles.
Oh, Tibbles, okay.
Constantly all
You're ruining our Critic Files moment here.
I'm going to give this a 9.5.
I was going to say, I was sensing a decimal there.
Yeah, as a 2 episode, I really enjoyed this. I thought this was great.
It was really good. I gave it a 9 again. Yeah. It's not like my favourite episode. In like like it wouldn't go in my top. I don't think he'd go in my top 5.
I know what you mean when you say that.
But if I was like doing a top 10 or a top 15 or something like that, it's definitely in there.
And it's not just that, it's like I'd watch this again. If I'm
yeah.
doing a rewatch, this is probably one of the first ones that I'm putting on the list to watch.
The internet tended to agree, as from 3,090, we got a 9 on the dot as well for that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, just in terms of awards, Veronica Cartwright was nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Drama Series for a role in both this and the previous episode. And the episode was also nominated for Outstanding Art Direction in a Series and Outstanding Makeup in a Series. And for the latter, they actually won an Emmy. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
So that's the end of the Critic Files and the end of the episode, really.
Yeah. Very, very important 2 big episodes to finish off there.
Yeah. Definitely feels like it's an end of an era with this. So I'm interested to see what the new story or like what the continuation of this will be. So
for sure.
But anyway, if you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on all of the notes below the episode. Twitter, Instagram. We still have Instagram. I forget what we use now.
I mean, sort of.
So Twitter, Instagram, email, whatever you want to do. But yeah, just let us know. Comment us. Twitter's always the best one, so I'd recommend that. But if you just want to get in touch with the show. Next week we are looking at an episode called it's called Aquamala, isn't it? I think
I didn't.
Or Aguamala.
I didn't pay attention to the title of the episode.
Aguamala.
Okay.
So a little sneak peek of what this is.
Yeah.
Because I saw the Google Translate earlier. Aguamala means bad water.
Oh, okay.
So we will find out.
Yeah, we certainly will.
What bad water is involved in this one. But that's it from me this week, and I'm guessing it's...
No, I'm going to carry on.
Okay, all right. I'll leave it to you. Bye, guys.
and welcome to a Most Unwanted podcast after hours.
I was wanting to see what your follow-on podcast
It's
was
the
gonna be.
After Hours podcast. It's where we get down and dirty.
Is it you and Rylan talk about X-Files?
Yeah.
That's a very niche UK reference again.
Have you ever been in a contamination shower with someone else naked?
That's the most erotic thing I could think of.
When you sneak a peek. It'll increase the sexual tension between you.
I think we should leave it there.